Okay, Tony, when Matthew says action, it's lights, camera, and action.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah, it started already. You get a warning. Well, just to say thank you to Alan, Matthew, for organising this seminar. The whole idea here is that going forward, we will have our different officers will work with people from the regions. So, for instance, Alan will have a PR network, and there'll be one from each region who will then coordinate with the clubs in each region. You know, we have 5 regions, and in that way, because we've grown so fast over the last few years, we can no longer do everything from the centre. So we're trying to devolve and delegate as much as possible, but also to help communications, so that while we're doing stuff at the centre in Gaelic Games Europe, that would both feed out to the regions through the regional representatives on the PR subcommittee, but also then that we would get feedback from the regions coming towards us in terms of people are more connected within their own region. So the whole idea is that moving forward, we're changing our structures to adapt to the business we're in. So we'll have, for instance, a PR committee, referees committee, a coaching committee, etc., etc., etc. In addition to that, obviously, over the last while, it's been very disappointing. Most clubs haven't been able to train, or certainly haven't been able to play games, although thankfully some are back training. And we've all learned over the past few months that we can do a lot more work through technology. And particularly in the PR and marketing area, technology is going to be one of our best friends, and has been one of our best friends, obviously, for a number of years. But we're very conscious, and I know Alan's been very conscious, that sometimes we put a lot of effort in, but we don't always get maximum bang for our buck, if you like, in terms of trying to achieve objectives. There are different channels, there are different ways of doing things. And the idea here is to have a series of seminars and to gradually educate those who need to be educated. Loads of people have social media knowledge and awareness, but also to make people aware of the fact that it varies from country to country, culture to culture, as to who uses what social media. And therefore, it's about determining audiences and things. And I might actually be lapsing into what may be in the presentation anyway. But I'd like to thank Alan and Matthew for organising this. It's the first of a load of initiatives that we're going to be rolling out over the coming months.
Okay,
that's it.
Well, thank you very much. I'll also say as well, thanks, Greg, who just spoke a moment ago. There's Angel is here as well. I think Paddy's here also, and Kieran, I hope, is here as well, all from the regional PROs. And the most important thing that I will say for a PRO, the PRO should be the kind of the instrument for development and branding for any club or any organisation. And the most important thing, and I was taught this years and years ago working with a professional soccer club, was KISS. Okay, keep it simple, stupid. KISS, keep it simple, stupid. So keep everything as simple as possible. Don't overcomplicate it. And I know from Angel, Paddy Reynolds from Helsinki, from the Nordics, they will go through that as well. Okay, so I'm going to put up the presentation, if I can just bear with me one moment. Now, just hope it is opening okay. Matthew, fingers crossed it's okay.
Perfecto.
It's up?
Yeah.
Oh, thank goodness. Okay, so also that's the first one. And this is one that it should be 2020, but it was one I've been teaching in the university as a sort of an extra for our communications management or journalism faculty. So basically, introduction, very, very simple thing. So many tests being done that a photo of an egg in different places around the world will get 1 million likes, and people will follow and like and share anything if they think it's worthwhile. Now, as I mentioned here in sports media, okay, the main reasons that we use it, okay, is keeping the community up to date. So your club, okay, that's your club, getting your message out first. So making sure that, like I saw with so many clubs around Europe, excellent work done in terms of with coronavirus. So many compliments that I was given from John Horan when I spoke with them, the work that was done in Europe by clubs on their own. Initiatives are just terrific. Keeping sponsors happy and staying relevant. Now, I'll just mention keeping sponsors happy with a small little anecdote. When I worked with a tennis player, she was playing in a tournament in Uzbekistan, and we had a big deal done for her with Adidas. She wore Adidas branded stuff. She was getting some money, $1,000 every month to train and to travel. She then went on her Facebook taking photographs in her after working out in her hotel with Nike branded gear on, and she lost her deal. So again, we need to be very clever with how we deal with sponsors and always keeping them happy. And staying relevant is that we always have updates and information. The worst thing I've seen with different club pages, for example, in Facebook, is the wrong contact details, or for example, the simple thing of a GAA.ie address. Now, I know it doesn't seem overly important, but it means you're connected, and that when information is sent out from Crow Park or from us in GGE, you get it first. So just make sure that your PRO and all your whole club, in that case, Matthew and John White, our secretary, and Matthew, they handle a lot of this, and Ben McAtee as well. So make sure you have your GAA.ie address for PRO, for your club and for Europe. Okay, quickly on. This is always a joke that was told to me by a former professor of mine here in Russia, saying that the social media channels are like your favorite children, that you need to be take care of them. Okay, you make sure that they are treated better than everybody else in terms of your favorite child. And now I'll explain why and what does this mean. Okay, because your golden children will pay you back. Okay, they will pay you back. First of all, if you put rubbish into your social media, you'll get it back. People I see put up 20 photos of a tournament, but they're all basically, you need binoculars to see the players. And you need binoculars to see the logo of the sponsor. So put out fewer photos, fewer posts, for example, you get better results. That is just a fact. I've trialed it with GGE by putting out a lot of stuff and less stuff. We have been getting more reaction from less, but even not high quality, but better quality. Okay. So especially in regards to photos are massively important. Text is important. Photos are way more important in this day and age. Central control, you as PRO, you need to take control of it. Now, it's fine to have somebody helping you out, but the filter should be you. Okay, you design and you direct your brand of your club, your image of your club. This is vital. Because if you've got 10 different people putting in, you'll see it from the posts. Okay, with GGE, we have a few people who, like Tony, for example, will update something on Facebook, or John White, our secretary, will update it. But we do the same thing all the time. Okay, so we know what we're doing. So again, and login and password, very important, because when it's happened, even with some people who are here tonight, where there's a change in personnel and there's no access, keep it safe, keep someone else in the loop. Okay. Cash, we say the best things in life are free. Not always, but there are apps that make your this is posts, not posts, excuse me. It was translated from Russian. From your posts are better. So for example, link up all your social media with one click. From Instagram, you go out onto Facebook and to Twitter. So it cuts down your workload and spreads it quicker. So basically one click of one button, boom, and it makes it that little bit easier. Okay. And again, in terms of photos, if you have a tournament, if there's an event, try to get a good camera. I know, this is fine, this is fine, but you need to have quality photos. Be aware of lighting, be aware of, we all have photos. I have probably most of my photos look like I'm, the sort of the unwanted son of the Elephant Man. But then you have to pick some decent photos where I look like the Elephant Man himself, and then I can put them out on social media. So this is what we have to be careful with as well, because you would be surprised the amount of people within a club who would be offended by the photos that go up after a party. And especially if people are drunk, and, just be careful with that. Education. If you're responsible for the social media channels, read up on it. YouTube is great for a little information, 5-10 minutes. And don't be afraid to ask. Ask myself, ask somebody else, and to take care of it, because honestly, even for yourself, even I'd say for career-wise, It's vital to have it. Okay, it's vital to have this information. And a deposit. If you, I say here that if you invest time and energy into social media, you're going to get something that you yourself as a person, your club are going to benefit from, because people will associate with it. We know that not all clubs are the same, and they shouldn't be, because we're all in different regions, different towns, different communities. So you need to suit your community, suit your culture that you're within. But the most important thing is be unique, but be brilliant. Be really, really good. Be the best you can be. Okay. Social media, what's best to use? This is a question that I get from journalists, even, or trainee journalists. What do I use to get noticed or to get my message out, my story out? And like it's all of it and none of it, because sometimes social media is not going to work correctly for you, and sometimes everything will. So first, what I'm going to run through very, very quickly, and then we'll have facts and figures with it as well, of what to use and how to use it. So this is be our first step, to introduce you to all different ones, because I asked for feedback. What do you use? What are you aware of? There are very, very different answers, and some answers were just made me very happy, because I'm thinking these are people that we need in GGE to move us to the next level, okay? And level being up. Twitter, okay? All sports journalists, news journalists use Twitter. Why? Donald Trump's on Twitter, and he's Donald Trump. But this is the quickest medium, 140 characters, bang, done, your message is out there, okay? For better, for worse, it's out there. So you have to be very, very careful with it, but it is great. And in the next step, I'll explain to how to use this to get media coverage for your club. This is what we've done, for example, in Moscow, with GGE as well. It's very, very important. And trust me, sports journalists and news journalists, they love to be tagged into things. But again, to be careful, you need to get them something tasty, because they have to bring it to an editor, and then it goes. Facebook, this is the most widely used, social media channel. And in terms of core audience right now, looking at the age profile across Europe for GGE, it's very important. Okay, it's very, very important. So it's basically, as I say here, it's the cornerstone for growing a community. That is the truth. Instagram, okay, it's fashionable. Okay, of course, it's great if you have your lips plumped up and your eyes, and you look great. Yeah, that's terrific. Okay, you will get lots of likes and so on. If you use it as part of a package, it's better. Okay, for example, Instagram, if you're doing little chats, for example, or even mini interviews for your club, it could be a local journalist is going to speak with you. Put it out, okay? Have an Instagram story, okay, or an Instagram video, okay? So Instagram TV, the IGTV, so you can actually put it up as well. So it works so well, but be careful with it. Again, it's a very visual channel. Photos are vital, and even though there's not that much, there might not be anything interesting in a photo, if it's well taken and looks good, people will look at it and like it, okay, and share it. And again, it's no matter how good we are or how good a person is. There's a young lassie here, she's like quite a few 100,000 followers here. She's a singer, and I was presenting a show with her, and I saw her spend half an hour on one photo, just half an hour, and before she posted it up. I'd say within a short period of time, she had 15,000 likes and lots and lots of shares. And I asked her, why are you doing that? And she said, well, basically because if I take my time with it, people will like it. I was like, okay. And she did everything from the filters and so on. But again, that's the next step. LinkedIn. I think only a couple of people answered LinkedIn as a social media. This is so important. I cannot stress enough that LinkedIn, no matter what you do, for yourself, for your career, get onto it. Get your club onto it. I just recently gotten GGE onto it, because it's so important, because if you update it, use it, put up small articles about your club and so on, you can then contact people and build a network that you can get them for media, again, spreading the word for your club and for Gaelic Games and sponsors. Because if you have that, there is a bit of cachet. Now, here in Russia, LinkedIn is banned. So we access it through a VPN. So I'm usually in Austria or Belgium. So that's a difficulty we face here, but still, everybody who is anybody is on LinkedIn. Okay, so get your club onto LinkedIn. That's if you come away from this with nothing else, get onto LinkedIn, yourself and your club. Okay, YouTube is the biggest and the best, and it is very difficult. There's so many restrictions on it in terms of what you can put on, how long it'll be on for, and again, it's all about quality as well. And Hel, who's here with us, he did the lives for the Pan Euros in Vienna last year, and it took off more than we realized. And I saw then we had more followers on Twitter and Facebook from other countries who actually noticed that there is Gaelic Games in Europe. So YouTube is very, very good. And it's the only one of all the social media, the only one of everything that has complete universal appeal. So from little kiddies, I know my son who's 10, he was sitting watching funny YouTube videos on Minecraft or whatever, up to my age group and older. So it's very, very, it's got huge appeal, okay? Here are some of the graphics. It might be a bit small to have a look at, but it basically breaks down the key demographics for each one, okay? I'm not going to go into them overall. You can see basically how they set themselves up. Facebook, very, very important. It's very high across, if we look here, the sort of the top age, you see the age brackets, it's very, very important. The middle age groups from 18 up to 64, that realistically right now is our overall target audience for Gaelic Games in Europe, from players to volunteers to coaches to sponsors. That's what we're aiming for. Stepping across to Twitter, you can see again, it's less, okay? There are less people using it, yes, less popular, but again, Twitter mainly is for getting your club into media, getting them into the minds of journalists, editors, and companies and sponsors. We saw, for example, this morning, Roger Federer chose Twitter to put out a notice that he would not be playing again this year in 2020, that he's going to come back in 2021 because of a complication from a knee operation that he had. It's still used by athletes and sports teams. So again, we're in a tough marketplace, but we can compete very, very well. Clicking on Instagram, you see again, the usage is low and it's on a younger demographic, okay? High in like teens, through to 20s, and then it starts to taper off. Why? Because a lot of people of an older age group, it's not interesting just sitting there and just looking through stories. There's not a whole lot of news in it, or so we think, but we can make news in it, okay? But again, it's important to use that in conjunction with Facebook and Twitter especially. Get them all going and you capture a huge audience. LinkedIn, again, it's a very different beast, okay? You're going after people who usually have progressed onto higher education, or that people are in business positions or work positions, or it's a horrible thing to say, but it's what was, again, it was explained to me by a professor, is people who have social connections, social know-how. So again, it's a very useful one for catching sponsors and getting people that will help your club to progress. Okay, so very simple as that. Be ruthless with it, because contact people, ask them favors. People, you'll be surprised. You'll be really, really surprised at how people react. LinkedIn, again, is vital. If you come away with nothing else from this, get on yourself and your club onto LinkedIn. Looking here at YouTube, again, YouTube, look at the age profile. It's highly used all the way through. It's very interesting. And again, the impact for a good social, a YouTube video, be it 90 seconds. They say 2 minutes is the max. So 2 minutes is good. I've also heard 1 minute, but honestly, it's hard to tell a story in 1 minute. But 2 minutes is a good kind of upper tier. And again, at the very bottom of this from Sprout Social, this was done up until April this year. This quarter, sorry, the first quarter from the USA, but they also have results from around the world. So if you use that link, you'll find the exact information, like the numbers, the full numbers. And again, this is something that there's so many resources out there to get the information back that you can go back to your club and say, listen, if we pay for X or we do X, we buy a decent camera or we hire a cameraman for a tournament, it works. Say, look at on YouTube how many people we can get in. People say, oh, you only have 200 people watching. Yeah, that's 200 people. God knows who they are or where they are. But again, it's 200 people more than if you didn't do it. Okay, and then you grow it. That's it for the presentation. This will be made available for everybody as well, of course, the recording. So I think you can put your hand up and ask a question. Ask away. Let's see if we can take this down. Did I put everyone to sleep? Matthew, are we all still there?
Yeah, but I think everybody is mute.
Everyone is mute? Okay.
Yeah.
Matthew, can you unmute them and sort of help just make sure we get through his questions? Folks, if you have a question, ask away.
I think there a question. Just unmute yourself and go ahead.
Okay. Question? Yeah.
What would you advise with a lot of teams have adults and underage? What would you suggest for those two groups, social media wise? I mean, make one account for the adults and one for the underage, or a total? Because your crowd is so different for the adults as it is for the children.
Deirdre, spot on. Great question. Something that's honestly, I knew you're coming in from The Hague, so yeah. I didn't prepare for the youth side. What I would say in terms of best practice, divide. Up until the age of 18, have one social media or group of social media channels. It's a bit difficult, I know, to manage two, but in terms of if there's content that could go up, you do not want to get any sort of issues with parents or with kids. So I would say YouTube is fairly universal. It's very, very tightly run. But Twitter, for youths, I wouldn't let them near it. Instagram, they'll mostly be on it anyway. Facebook, if they're on it, they'll be a little bit older, hopefully a bit more worldwide, but still divided off. So have one for adults and one for kids. And make no apologies for it as well. Say the reason we do it is best practice. When you're 18 and over, fine, you join this, but otherwise you keep them separated. Is that okay?
Yeah, that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Great.
Actually,
thanks.
you can just add in there what you see in certainly in clubs in Ireland where you would have larger clubs with different sections. They'll very often have social media channels for the different sections because they're different target audiences. However, if there's something good from any one of the streams, they'll put it on the main club channel as well. So you can use it that way. Yeah.
Great, Tony. Yeah, that's actually again, it's something that like YouTube is they're very protected. You can put on the safe search and so on YouTube, whereas on Twitter and Facebook, for example, it's a bit more laissez-faire. So yeah, that's great. That's a great thought. Thanks, Tony.
If I can add something to the tools that you use, especially concerning the young people, let's say age 12 to 18, they're not on the same social networks that we are. So if you want to have them, don't hope to do anything by text. You need images on Instagram, basically, stories and Snapchat. So if you want to have youth people, if you're targeting youth people, you have to have a Snapchat account so that they can add you on Snapchat and put regular stories on Instagram, on Snapchat. And if you have the ability of doing small videos and you want to aim at young people and do small short clips, 1-minute clips to say, okay, look, GAA is fun, come and join us, go to TikTok. Yeah. Today, TikTok, we don't even know what TikTok is, but they are all on the same network.
Greg,
Instagram,
I wanted to ask
Snapchat,
you about
TikTok.
that. I wanted to ask you about that, Greg. TikTok, I mean, I know a lot of kids using it and they're as young as 10 and 9 years of age. So it's like a story with some music. Can you describe it for us? Because again, I know what it is, but I don't really know how it works, like in an expert's view, because again, most of the work, it's a very, very much a younger audience. So what is TikTok and how does it work?
Okay, basically TikTok is a social network that works exactly the same way that Instagram works, but with videos. It's Instagram for videos, and it has become really viral in Asia first because they used it to do playback or dance choreography on this network. So mainly the most famous and viewed videos are the dance videos and things like that. However, you can go on this network and find like small magic tricks, small humor, whatever is visually impacting the people, and whatever you can do with the video to get a short message out. Put it on TikTok and you are sure that you'll get the kids audience from 10 to maybe 16, 18. So if you are trying to recruit those young kids and young players, you have to think in terms of strategy with short messages, both on like static messages that you can do on Instagram or Snapchats. It can be on Instagram and Snapchat. You can also do stories with small videos that you just take with your phone. And if you have the capacity of editing videos and do something that is really like an advertisement spot, you know, like okay, like a TV ad. If you have the capacity of doing that and putting some nice music and making it sexy, you go to the TikTok and then you'll reach much more people.
Okay,
it's complete. The difference is it's really like it's as simple as the other ones, but I don't know why the kids are just using this one.
Okay,
it's trendy.
Yeah, trending, exactly.
It's
Deirdre,
completely that.
Deirdre, there's one for you to use in Den Haag.
Yes, we
I'm
try
good
that
for
one
Deirdre
then.
because when I turn on TikTok, I can handle about 1.5 minutes max. And then I need to go to something more serious.
That's about 10 videos, so that's okay. That's okay.
I know.
So, any other questions or feedback?
Yeah, I just have a quick question regarding guidelines or like following GDPR for just say for the youths, like Zurich, we don't have a youth section, but for just say for example, for if clubs are posting pictures of children online, should they have the consent or?
That's actually covered. If you don't mind, I can step in there. There are social media guidelines for the GA. And one of them, you know, they cover things in general. If you have a quick flick through them, they're mostly common sense. GDPR and things like that. That's partly addressed by having proper membership application forms where people give consent or don't give consent.
Yeah.
And I know a lot of our clubs, probably the majority, are not getting down to that detail. But in reality, that's how you protect yourself. Because, and the thing then you have to be careful of is that you don't use any clips of people who have not given consent. So that will be important. The platforms themselves are all GDPR compliant, but it's how we use them that may not be.
Normally, Sinead, I'll just say welcome, Sinead. Tony, that's actually spot on. It's the forms, the application forms, registration forms for clubs. In Moscow, we've actually filled it in where you consent to allow your information to be used for mail outs and so on. but not to be sold to a third party, but to be used within the club, for example, to get information updates. Normally, Sinead, there's not that much, not many issues if there's a kid in the photo. If they're there.
Sorry, guys, we're getting feedback there. I think if people are not speaking, they need to kill their microphone or just turn off the microphone.
It's okay, I just solved it, Tony.
Okay, thanks.
Thanks, Matt. So basically, Sinead, that usually it's fairly okay within a club, but again, as Tony said, there are people who don't want their photos taken, but usually if you're taking a photo, you speak with the people at that moment, especially if it's in a small event. With kids, you know, I don't know, we've never run into any difficulties with it. And personally, I've done it here, like with students who would be, say, under the age of consent, so be 16, 17, taking photos in groups. Usually there's no issue with it. I do know that we've had it with GGE, we've had a couple of photos of ours or posts questioned by Facebook where we used a club's photos as they sent us photos or sent me photos and I put them up, and Facebook took them down. And the reason was because we didn't have copyright. That was the only issue that we faced. Sinead, did Tony and I answer your question?
I can't unmute
yeah,
sorry. Yeah, perfect. Thank you very much.
Okay, that's perfect. And is that Suarez on the poster?
Gerard.
Oh, okay. All right. So you won't be bitten. That's okay. All right.
No.
Okay. And any other questions or feedback?
Yeah, just to add to this thing of the taking pictures of young people. Here in Galicia, the law is very restrictive on how you post pictures of children online. You have to have consent for them, for the parents. It's a lot of mess. But if you don't have that kind of consent, what you can always do is blur the face.
Mm.
You know, it's something we have done because they didn't have the consent for 20 children, and they just blur the faces. And yeah, since they are not recognizable, it's okay. So I think it should be okay.
That's it. And how difficult is it to blur out faces, for example?
I think on Photoshop it's pretty easy, but I think with Paint or something like that, you can also do it pretty quick.
Again, this is where we come. Angel, thank you for that. That's where we come back to, kind of less is more. So instead of having, 20 photos that, because someone will say, oh, here's all the photos, and then we see it. I did it myself with GGEs when we started. I've seen it with our own club in Moscow. 20 photos go up in a big mess. Okay, when 2 or 3 photos are enough, and we know that everyone wants to have their photo up. But you can do that privately, within the club, but try to put it less. And that way, then there's less issues faced with either consent or with a photo that, someone in a compromising position, for example. I mean, as in like a dirty swipe with a hurl or something across the back of the head. And, we don't want the police get involved. So less is more. So using less photos, better quality ones, kind of minimizes the risks then that could come down the line. Any other feedback or questions?
Just
me,
sorry, go ahead. Matthew. Like in Basel, we ask for each kid, at the first day we ask the consent for the picture. And I just keep all the consent somewhere, as paper. I have all the paper in my place as Board Secretary of Basel, and I just know which person I have the consent on or not.
Perfect. Because again, someone could forget that they gave the consent at the start of the year, but at least if you have it on paper, if you have it in your hand, that's a good point. So again, that's something that I think we need to speak with our youth officer to make sure that he spreads the word that that's what we have to do.
Just to be careful there, it's not just youths. There are quite a few adults who decide not to give consent. So I know when we had 46 or something out training there in February, which was a huge surprise for us. But about 9 or 10 had not given consent. So I had to be very careful when using photographs of training and things like that to make sure that, okay, if they're in the distance, that's fine. They weren't immediately identifiable. But the ones that were closest to the camera, I had to make sure they all were ones who gave consent. So it does take a little bit of work. And again, so much of it is just in case rather than it's absolutely, you're definitely going to be sued or something. Yeah. But you just can't afford to take a chance. So this again is where centralizing and, if the PRO knows who has given consent, they know what they can use.
Exactly. And it's also that, control, like you said, centralized control what goes out as well. And that way you protect yourself. So, and again, protect yourself. There's nothing scary about it. The club is going to work together and things can be sorted out. It's just to sort of make sure to minimize your risks. Who else came in there when Matthew was speaking as well?
I think that was me.
Oh, was you?
I don't know if you're going to cover cross-linking across the sites and things.
Yes, I mentioned that. I mentioned that with, for example, if you put up a post on Instagram, I'll show you. I can't do it now, but basically on Instagram, if you put up a post as you go through, you can put it directly onto Facebook and to Twitter. So once you have everything up and tagged and hashtagged, hit post and it goes out. So immediately you hit 3 social media channels. LinkedIn does the same with Twitter, with Twitter, but there have been restrictions in the last year getting a post on LinkedIn onto Twitter as well. I'm still trying to figure out why, because it works and then doesn't work. I think it's something to do with hashtags, but again, it's a bit unusual. And always, if you have content, if there's photos, for example, on SoundCloud, I think, Tony, you know this on SoundCloud yourself, you can post up you can send it to WhatsApp, you can send it to Telegram, you can send it to any number of different platforms. I don't think Facebook, but you can go to Instagram, for example. So after Tony, you put up the podcast on Instagram, I copped what you did and I'll do the same now as well. So you educated me on that one. So.
Yeah, the one thing I would say to be careful though is to always check what appears on the other platform, because in the crossover, sometimes they're truncated or they're cut short. You only get the first line and it might not make sense. So you may need to go in and edit it. Yeah. So just to watch for things like that, because you can look. I'll admit to it. I'm the laziest bastard you'll ever meet. So I throw one up, and my Twitter connects across my Facebook and whatever. Or sometimes it just looks stupid on the other platform. So always check how it looks.
Twitter especially, because Twitter, you might have a beautiful photo on Instagram, and it'll just have a link for Instagram. So what try to do is to follow it up and then reply to it with a photo, and people still copy it. It's just a nuance between the different platforms. And with YouTube as well is very, very useful as well for sharing, because it shares across a wide variety of platforms.
Yeah, another thing which sorry, Alan, for jumping in again. Thing which can be useful is if you have a good club website, to post your stories on the website and then link from social media to drive people to your website. That increases the hits on your website, which can be very important if you're talking to sponsors.
Yeah, that's true. Very true. If you notice, when we do that for most of our, especially for our podcasts, Matthew posts a story on the website with a link across, and then we cover all our angles. So some people will want to go on websites or social media. Of course, websites are usually, I think Matthew can describe it best as a reference, a resource. Correct, Matthew?
When you send me the email, and I just copy as a except the hashtag, because hashtag I think on the website is not the best. And just put with WordPress is easy, because you can add easy as a picture, as all the link will be an embedded link, so it will be really nice, and it's more and more easy to work on the website with WordPress.
Yeah, WordPress is very, very good.
The nice thing about doing cross-linking like that is you then get a hit on your website and your social media. So it's putting your statistics up as well.
Again, it's good for sponsors. And everything goes back to this, is that when I say winning with social media, well, the course that I was delivering at the university here was about making money through social media, not through influencing. Now, maybe you can get all the lads in the club to get hair extensions and implants in their lips or wherever it is. It might work for a short time, but long term, if you use the social media correctly, you will make money. There's no two ways about it. The GGE is very, very good at it, but if we look at other sports, for example, some soccer clubs work so well with it, make a massive amount of money off their websites and social media, and especially social media, simply because they have people paid to do nothing else but social media. I know Sinead did a FIFA. Sinead, you did FIFA Masters, didn't you?
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
And how much attention was given, for example, to marketing and to brand development within the course?
Oh, huge. When we were in Milan, we had a whole module on it. And we were in management school in Milan, and yeah, it was basically a huge part of it. And the clubs were even themselves. We had a project to do with AC Milan, and they were even wanting to improve their foothold or their grasp on social media, and it was interesting to see how different clubs use it as well. Some have it purely just for their training photos and their match day, whereas others actually have more fan-based stuff, content posted. So it really, as you said, they have their own departments and they have their own strategies. So it depends on each club, I suppose. But no, it was a huge part of the Masters was looking at that, and how not just football clubs but all different sports, how they market themselves through their social media.
Thanks, Sinead, because it is very, very important. And one little tip I would give, that when I a couple of years ago, when I became chair here in Moscow, I asked them to come into the PRO. But the first thing I did, because I took it from a soccer club local to Moscow, they would have the head of social media and then a small cross-party or cross-department group to work with them. So commercial, fan relations, and facilities. Now, why facilities? Because they would give the access for any videos you need to make. So for them, it worked like that. So I would suggest for a PRO of every club, have a committee to work with you. Because again, PRO, it's not just posting up nice photos on Instagram in GA. It's also helping with events, work, and fundraisers and so on. So if you have 2 or 3 people, or even 2 people to work a subcommittee, it really, really helps. And basically then, if you're not available, they help out. But again, it lessens the load and increases the impact. So it kind of a little tip, I would say, that we used here that has worked, that you can use anywhere. Because, as I said, in the clubs, professional clubs, they have a whole department doing it. And then they have the cross groups as well. So it's very, very important. Is there any more questions or anything else that we need to ask or to check up on this first outing?
Deirdre.
Yeah. On the LinkedIn part, I am on LinkedIn, but I really don't do anything with it. What kind of content can you share there, GA related then?
Very, very, listen, great question. And it's kind of something you learn all the time. Most important thing is on LinkedIn, hashtags are important. So basically, you have your career for yourself, just for yourself. Okay, you have your career stuff, and small information and so on, and then you can put up your posts. So you see people put up an announcement for some new project or a product, or an announcement about I'm moving companies. You have something for your club. It could be a Facebook post. It could be something from GGE, from the website for GGE. Oh, we just got this new podcast with so-so out, or it could be from GAA, and you put it out. Okay, so you just put in the link, write in a little small, interesting couple of sentences, a couple of hashtags that are relevant, and then just hit post, and it goes up then onto your feed. And all the people who are linked with you will see this, it'll come into their feed. And again, if it's interesting, and your hashtags then will bring out people who are not even second or third connections, who are further away, but then they follow or like this hashtag, and then they come back in to see, oh, what's this about? And it's like, oh, it's like, Den Haag had a youth tournament. Oh, okay, that's interesting. I didn't know there was even GAA, or so it's a different kind of group, but again, for catching a sponsor, for catching interested media people, or politicians. So again, politicians will use it. People who have influence in like civil servants, they'll use it so you can sort of catch their eye. And for the club, it's kind of the same thing. So the same thing, you put the club and you put up there little bits of information. So notifications of we had this tournament, or we have just, this company has bought a set of jerseys, or oh look, we're part of a European-wide project, or we got a mention on GAA.ie. You just put in that link, it's all online, put in the link, put in a few sentences, and bang, you have content. And again, it's something that's very important to you. Set up for your club, keep it there, and then it will pay back. It will. It's not short term. It's medium to long term. But I guarantee you, within 6 months to a year, you'll start to have an extra audience for your content or for your club.
Yeah, so it's more actual shared content because it's already put up somewhere.
Exactly. You're basically saying something new. You might put up something saying, delighted to have been part of this, and you put in a photo. Okay,
Yeah.
like kind of like Facebook, but realistically, people will look at it, and then if they really are interested, they'll click. But if they just see a blurb and a photo, like just in your post, they're kind of it's linked nowhere else, so they have no point of reference. So it's kind of like if you look at online articles that will have a reference, so it'd be in blue, you click on it and you go to the source, the material, the source of that part of the story. It's the same situation with academic articles, that they'll have the number and then you go find a reference. So LinkedIn is kind of like that. You need to prove where you came from and what you got it from to increase your standing.
Good, thanks.
Okay.
I have a question that's a little bit different.
First, Greg, please.
Who's in, Matthew?
Greg, just hand up, and after you go, Megan. It's okay?
Okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to add something on the LinkedIn. I personally use it a lot with my other club, basketball club, for all that is fundraising and partnership with sponsors. It's a big business community, so I agree with everything that Alan has said, but I think that if you can provide content that makes sense to your own sponsors, I mean, if you have sponsors already and you can show them off and do something, if at any point you do some Irish cultural event in their company, or if you invite them to a tournament that you're hosting, or whatever you do that has something to do with your sponsors, you can put it there. Whatever you do that has some interest in terms of business, you can put it there, so that you can maintain your relationship with the sponsors, and eventually through your network you can help them do business, and that's the reason why they'll stay. So it's really business aimed network, and you should treat it also like that. I mean, give every opportunity you have to say how nice is the relationship between you and your sponsor, and how they and you can benefit from it, so that their network will see and say, oh, that might be interesting to go with this club. and your network will say, that company is nice, it might be interesting to make business with them. So really we use it like that.
Greg, perfect. Again, you look at all the big pro clubs. They are all involved. They all have they work it very, very hard. Okay, so Greg, thank you. Thank you for nailing that point. It's very, very important. Megan, you're coming in.
Yeah, hi, thank you. I just wanted to ask, because we're quite a small club and we're doing a bit of rebuilding at the moment. If there was any advice, if you don't have a lot of sponsorships, a big budget, even content, it's a bit sad if you've only got a handful of people coming to training to put up a photo of that. Is there anything that, just to get the ball rolling, that anyone could recommend? Obviously, it takes some time, but just to get a starting point to start being engaging without having, I guess, flashy content, I would say.
Megan, you're in Dusseldorf.
Yes, I am.
And Dusseldorf is a stunning city.
Yes.
So what you do is you get people who are for example, you get people who are in, Dusseldorf kit, for example, or jerseys. Get them to a place that is, Goodman Tower. Go get photos there that will build up content that will show you are Dusseldorf.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Doesn't matter who Fortuna are, you are Dusseldorf.
Great, fantastic.
So do something very, very simple like that. You've got the beautiful river there as well. You have someone coming in from the airport. Get a Wenjing up in Copenhagen did a brilliant one, and she didn't even have to ask twice. She just sent me a photo of an O'Neill's football and a water bottle overlooking the on the Copenhagen waterfront. There's no words needed for that. Just Copenhagen. That's all. You maximize what you have. You don't have to have 50 people at training. Keep it updated. For example, if there's 6, 7 people at training, put a photo up. But don't worry about it if there's not that many people. Make the use of what you have, and you've a terrific city in Dusseldorf. So
yeah, that's a great idea. Just make it visually appealing, at least for a start.
Exactly. I mean, do that and let the people of Dusseldorf know you're there.
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Then work from that, okay?
You can also use photographs from training by being clever with your angles, so that you would only expect to see 2 or 3 people in a photograph.
Yeah.
But that you can give the impression there's much more people there. So tonight we were doing such and such a drill, and you might have a few seconds of video where it's only 2 people involved, but it was part of a bigger session.
Yeah. Great point, Tony. Angel was had up.
Yeah, one related to this. Just one question I would have. Imagine, we've been talking about all these platforms and social media and all that, but it takes work, to handle all that. So imagine you have this one only person who's going to do your social media stuff, and he has limited time, maybe 2-3 hours a week or something like that. What would you recommend to that club or something, to where to focus and what kind of content to publish or something? What is strategy? But you don't have these 5-6 people who are doing these media.
And that's
it's a difficult one, I think.
Yeah, it's a brilliant question, and it's the problem that we all kind of face at every single club. I always say that I mentioned in the presentation that a village raises a child, but then we have to raise a good child, one that sort of represents us. There's tricks to do it. Say for example, Facebook. You don't have to do that many. Okay, so you have you can schedule your posts for a certain time for a certain day. So day wait and day publish. So spend half an hour to put up a photo with a bit of information. Just get a photo for something from GAA.ie, for example. Put it in there and put your own little blurb onto it saying we found this very, very interesting. It might interest you as well. It could be linked from YouTube, for example, or from our website. that's one thing to do. You don't have to do that much. And also, and this is something that, Tony, close your ears for this one, or mute, or whatever the sound. Sometimes it's handy to be not lazy, but clever. You can be lazy and clever and lucky at the same time. GAA puts out some terrific video content, which works really, really well. It goes up on Facebook, for example. On Instagram, they have it as well. It's about what happens next or who scores this goal. So you can like it and share it on your story on Instagram. That's content. For Facebook, they have, for example, GAA Now. And you basically just find it and share it. Write up a little thing like, can you remember this, or what do you think of, like, you can put your own heart into it, or your own kind of little twist on it, and share it. It takes 5 minutes. So then you've got another 1 hour, 55 minutes free in the week, but for one post. That's one thing to do. Another thing that I find is handy, Angel, is that use the time, the platforms like Instagram. So instead of posting up lots of things, have a couple of posts, spend half an hour on a post, and then it goes out then to your Facebook and your Twitter. I would say of all else, and you can like and you can share content on Facebook as well. So keep it as simple as possible. I say make 2 good Instagram posts per week, and spend at least half an hour on each one, because you'll get 3 for the price of 1. Okay, 3 for the price of 1. Get a good photo, good little bit of text, good hashtags, tag in the right people, and hit send. But then, as Tony mentioned as well, the little nuance in terms of a post then when you put it from Instagram, go onto your Twitter and reply to yourself or retweet it from your account, but do an @ with whoever it may be, a local journalist or a local TV station or your sponsor. So to double it up, okay? So, Angel, simple thing will be 2 good posts per week. Use Instagram as your starting base and work from that. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. There's another hand up, Matthew.
Neem from Munich.
Okay.
Please go ahead.
Go ahead, Neve.
Yeah, just unmute yourself.
Okay.
Sorry. I'm just talking about hashtags and stuff. I was wondering, like, is there any, like, what are kind of the best hashtags that we can be using in like Instagram and Facebook posts and things like that? Any you'd recommend specifically? Okay.
That's a brilliant question. I can tell you what not to use. What I would say, don't hashtag Trump. Don't. Trust me, it's not from. What I would say to avoid would be, if you put up, this is a mistake made that kills a product, kills a brand, kills a club. Is if something's trending, for example, hashtag BLM, Black Lives Matter. Mm-hmm. I saw clubs doing it, but not really in context. They hashtag BLM, and it's like, wait, hold on. People will look at it and immediately they can report it. If it's on Twitter, for example, they're very, very nasty. They'll report it or they'll react badly to it because you're piggybacking. Okay, so that's one thing not to do. If something's trending, if you notice a lot of our posts, I try not to do anything on hashtag COVID, hashtag coronavirus. I'll avoid that because, again, it's kind of people will remember that. If people are going to look at your content, they'll look at your content. Mm-hmm. Hashtag your club name. Hashtag GGE, for example. Hashtag GAA, hashtag Ireland, hashtag Germany. I'm talking for Munich, okay? In Germany, if you want to increase your interest, you need to have it with a translation in German as well, just for hashtags alone, okay? So if it's Bavaria, it's Bayern. If it's Munich, it's Munich. So have those hashtags ready to go, particular to your club. The best I've seen done was last year was just unbelievable. The World Games with Angel is here, Galicia. They were brilliant with the hashtags, use of hashtags. They did English and they did Galician and they did Spanish. It caught a lot of eyes. So the best thing is your club, your city, your country, your association, and then your big association like GAA. Because if you hashtag those simple ones in, and then, for example, hashtag we all belong, that's a global GAA one. You could hashtag Gaelic Games, because again, that, you know, if you click on that, it'll scroll down across the world, and that's basically it. So your club, your city, your nation, your association, and your big association. Is that okay?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you.
Okay.
And another hint on the hashtags is to, if you have time, have a look and see what hashtags are gaining traction. So again, like they'd all be standard ones that Alan mentions, but sometimes there just is something happening, and it's worth tagging that as well. If there's a clear link, it's tags which are not linked or out of context that people don't like. If you tag something, you can turn up in a random feed, you know, for, you know, Zulu warriors and so, you know, in whatever, and because you tagged something, they all get it, and they're all going to say, "What the hell is this?" Yeah. So again, if the tag makes sense, it's probably worth putting in.
Yeah, and especially if you set, for example, your Twitter settings for what's trending for hashtags. Like on mine, it's Moscow, Russia. So today I had Navalny, I had Putin, I had Constitution were trending for me. Use those as well. Tony, thank you. That's actually a good point to bring up. Folks, we're well over the time that I'd hoped or allotted. Are there any more questions right now that you want to ask? Silence. Okay. Going twice and once. Okay. So what I will just say now, just to round up for this evening, is that use your social media, be brave, make sure that less is more. As I said to Angel, 2 Instagram posts per week, make them regular and always make them. Okay, don't just let them skip. It's very difficult, I know, but you can then to plan them, just hit send and they all go out. Facebook is very good as well for that. Be clever and lazy and lucky with sharing content, especially good content from the GAA. Okay, most important thing is just get, you know, as Gregor said, like, you know, that good content, you know, visual content, and if you have younger age groups, 18, 16 and under, then TikTok is the one. Next week, I plan again for next Wednesday to have another. It'll be a little bit more advanced in what we're doing, and what I'll do is I'll break down I'll break down in social media what to use and some little tricks of the trade as well. And then the following week, if everyone's still not too bored or frustrated with it, I'll have actually an expert come in to have a chat with us about it. So social media expert, especially in
the word these days is guru.
Yeah. It's not influencer. They're just a person who does the influencing. It'll be someone who comes from professional sport who come in to have a little chat with us about sort of little tricks of the trade that we can use. Does that sound okay?
Alan, can I just thank you and all the team, Matthew, and everyone who attended. It's great to see things like this happening, and it's the right time to be thinking about these things. Yeah. And even if, okay, there's 12 of us here, you know, if 6 of us do something and we get a return on the investment, it was well worth everyone's time. Yeah.
Look, we were, when we were planning this out, we said like maximum 10, including myself, including Tony. We said maximum 10. We got more than that, and there were people who will get this as well. So Matthew is recording the recording we sent out, and again, you have my contact details. Contact me at any time if you need support. if you want to send me information, if you want to send me details, do, because again, your work makes my work easier. Okay. If you work, then I don't have to work. Or no, I shouldn't say that.
No, Alan, you do have to work. I have to say that as chairman. You will be working.
Okay. So listen, we same time next week. I'll bring you to the next step with this, and then basically a week later we'll have an expert come in to sort of basically give us a little bit of a polish. Okay. All right. So I say good night to everybody, and take